Swept again. The Detroit Tigers are swept by the Chicago White Sox in Chicago. That officially makes them 30 games under 500, and they have lost 7 games straight. There have been a plethora of stats released out on the internet about how really bad this team is this season, and we're going to talk about it today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Bentley. Today is Monday, August 15th, 2022. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get gas, including YouTube. Okay, Tigers dropped 3 games this weekend in a 3-game set against the South Side. Yeah. A lot of really, really bad play. This was a pretty pathetic weekend, to be honest with you. This was really brutal. Very difficult to watch. This offense continues to be one of the worst things I've ever seen. We talked about at the end of last week how the road numbers for this team are some of the worst in the history of baseball, if not just straight up the worst in the history of baseball. Since scoring 9 runs off the Rays in a game in which Shane McClanahan started, their run totals now are 0-2-2-3, 0-4-3. When they scored 4 runs on Saturday, that was the first time that they had scored more than 3 in an entire. It just goes on and on, really. There are so many stats. There's one on Twitter. I found it, but it was not myself. But somebody on Twitter put out there that the Tigers and Aaron Judge, I think, have the same amount of home runs since the All-Star break. Or at least maybe they did Castro a home run at the end of the game there. It's just brutal. They're not drawing walks. We talked about at the end of the show last week how this team just doesn't draw walks. I think they had 3 on Friday, and then after that it was pretty brutal the rest of the weekend. Didn't have any on Sunday, I know. 5 total. There you go. On the weekend and 0 on Sunday. It's just nothing is going right. The approach is terrible. They don't hit for power at all. They have 2 home runs. They have a 7-game losing streak. 2 home runs in that 7-game losing streak. 2 home runs in the last week of baseball as a team for the Detroit Tigers. 2. It was 1 until Harold went Yabo at the end of the game on Sunday. Just embarrassing stuff, man. And it's not getting any better. It's not like we have like crazy reinforcements on the way. I have a hard time believing that in mid-August team is just going to have the switch flipped. Like this is just, it is what it is. This is the team this year. And Javi had a good weekend, and we have to watch him do all like the antics with the crowd. Do you guys remember? Okay. Pistons fans, do you remember? By the way, I'm also the Pistons banner. If you're watching on YouTube, like in a day or 2. All right, I promise I didn't just forget the Stones. They're on the way. Then I'll have all 4 banners behind me. Did some cleaning up and finally got this little mini studio thing to going. The Detroit Pistons, I want to say it was 3 or 4 years ago now, played a game in which they were losing by easily 30 points. It might have been 40. They were getting throttled. And Andre Drummond had a putback dunk, and he turned around and shushed the crowd in a game in which, like, in the third or fourth quarter, they were down easily like 20, 30 points. That's what this entire weekend felt like with Javi Baez. It just, I have not seen one single Tigers fan that was like super pumped and happy antics this weekend, which sucks because if the team was good, we would love this dude. And if he was crushing the ball, and if the team was 500 or better and like in mix for the wild card, and Javi was having an all-star season, like this city would love this dude. Love him. He would really carry the Detroit versus everybody thing really well. But unfortunately, he has an OPS in the mid-low 600s. He leads baseball in errors. I don't think he's worth a single win, according to Fangraphs. I think he's at like 0.8 WAR, 0.9 WAR. And the team is 30 games under 500. So unfortunately, the antics, I don't care for him. He's doing like the stand on second base, like shoulders shrug and like the arms out, like I am great, and like pump up the crowd, like let me hear the boos. We just got swept and scored 7 runs in 3 games. We got shut out once. I don't. And like he played well. like he played well, but I mean, and this is not a fresh new like everybody with or without a platform, just like every Tigers fan that you have seen has shared this sentiment, or at least a vast majority. I don't want to speak for everybody. I don't want to speak for 100% of people, but a vast majority of people are just like, what are you doing, man? Just a brutal weekend. And the pitching wasn't that bad. Gave up 2 runs in the opener, the series opener. Since on Saturday, 5 runs on Sunday. With the patchworky bullpen, not bullpen, rotation rather, that this team has, you can't really go into a series expecting too much better than like 2.65. In Cleveland, they had 2.24, or sorry, 5.34. That we scored 2.23. They had 5.34. Like around there is about as good as you can expect. And yet, this is one of the worst offenses we have ever seen. So it just doesn't matter. And that's not me being dramatic. We've talked about the stats, right? Like this is legitimately one of the worst offenses in recent modern baseball memory. It's atrocious. They can barely hit the ball out of the infield. There's no power. They don't draw walks. They struck out 14 times on Sunday. Pretty sure they struck out 40-ish times for the series. And before this weekend, they had struck out, I think, 50 times in the last 4 games leading up to this weekend. We talked about on Friday's show. It's unbelievable. Okay, let's talk about the games themselves. There is some good pitching performances to go over. There is some offensive stuff we need to talk about, but I just wanted to start the show with, again, for the millionth time, reiterating how unprecedented and how just ridiculous this team's performance has been. That's 7 straight losses, and you have not scored more than 4 runs in a game in now 8 days. Unreal. All right, let's get into the actual games themselves. We will talk about it. First, though, got to tell you all about our friends over at LinkedIn. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes in LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond, and be a part of the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questioning make it easier to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small business rates LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn a week? Well, now you do. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. I lost my spot there. Terms and conditions apply. All right, everybody. Welcome back here to segment 2 at Locked On Tigers. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Detroit Tigers drop 3 games to the Chicago White Sox, losing streaks at 7. Friday's game, they lost 2-0. This was a really brutal offensive performance, and Daniel Norris started this game for the Detroit Tigers. Michael Kopech went 6 innings and actually got pulled in the middle of a no-hitter. He went 6 innings, 0 hits, 0 runs, 3 walks, however, and 11 strikeouts. So here's the thing that's been a reoccurring theme all season. A, this team can't hit, period. But B, and more importantly, they cannot hit fastballs. And that's a problem. That's like where you start. That's the fundamentals, the early stages of how you become a good and talented offense is you hit fastballs, and you especially hit fastballs down the middle and like belt high, that area. Michael Kopech threw 56 of his 85 pitches were four-seam fastballs. And take a wild guess at how many the Detroit Tigers put in play. He threw 56 four-seam fastballs. The average velo on him was under 96 miles an hour. It's solid, but it's not like, oh my goodness, how can anyone be expected to catch up to it? They put two four-seam fastballs in play. 56 times it was thrown. It got fouled off 9 times. 2 times it was put in play. I want you to take a moment and really understand how unbelievable that stat is. That shouldn't be possible. This is a major league baseball team. They get paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to hit baseballs for a living. That's their job. They do it all day, every day, for months on end. This is a straight pitch. This is a four-seam fastball. They put 2 in play. The CSW percentage, called strikes plus whiffs percentage, on the four-seam fastball was 50%. 50. As a whole, his CSW percentage was 45% in the outing. 50% on the four-seam fastball. That means that of his 56 four-seams thrown, half of them were either swing and misses or they were called strikes in the zone. He had 17 whiffs and 11 called strikes on the four-seam alone. On the game as a whole, he had 22 whiffs and 16 called strikes. That is one of the most OP, just dominant. I'm not even sure the other team is playing the same sport as you or qualifies as a Major League Baseball team stat lines I've ever seen in my life. I want to really drive home how unbelievable what I just read you is. 56 four-seam fastballs, 2 were put in play, and half of them were strikes. If you include the 9 fouls, well over half were strikes. Truly unbelievable. Lopez comes in, gives up a hit, ends the combined no-hitter bid. Every single person that pitched for the White Sox had at least 1 strikeout. Kendall Graveman gave up a hit, and Liam Hendricks did also give up a hit. Yeah, uncompetitive. I mean, it's only a 2-0 loss, and it was completely uncompetitive. This offense looked lost at the plate. They could not hit four-seam fastballs in the strike zone. It wasn't like a ridiculous paint performance by Kopech. He was solid. I'm not trying to discredit him. I mean, this is a ridiculous performance, right? But it wasn't like he was painting everything and setting everything up and everything. He threw 6 changeups and 5 curveballs. Like you knew, he threw the four seam 66% of the time. 2 of every 3 pitches were four seam fastballs, and you couldn't hit them. It's embarrassing. There's no other word for it. It's embarrassing. Daniel Norris started this game for the Tigers. He went 4 2/3, 4 hits, 2 walks, 1 K. I mean, he didn't give up any runs. I'll say, I guess. I don't have too much of a thought on this, to be honest with you. Like Daniel Norris is back. That's a cool story, I guess. Like, sure. But like Daniel Norris is not playing to be a part of the future rotation of this team. like, cool story. He didn't give up any runs. That's great. He still made the crazy athletic, trying way too hard defensive pitcher plays that Daniel Norris always made. I mean, he was solid. It wasn't a bad outing at all. Didn't have swing and miss stuff, but that's not really unexpected. And kept the other team off the scoreboard. So, props, I guess. Jason Foley comes in, looked really solid again. Alex Lang came in and did not look solid. One of his worst outings in recent memory for sure. Gave up the only 2 runs. The thing with Lang always comes back to command. It's always what it starts and ends with. And the command was not there on this one, especially with the curveball, his best pitch, just 0 command with it. Willie Peralta then came in for the final inning, walked 2, struck out 2. Again, really worried about the fact that Willie Peralta is just walking everybody. But again, it's almost the fact that this team is this bad really does a disservice for analysis, because I'm like, okay, well, Willie Peralta has a huge walk problem. We're 30 games under 500. The trade deadline's passed. Okay, he's just not going to be on the team next year if it continues to be a problem, and that's it. It's not like we're gonna make a run at if he fixes the issue. You know what I mean? It's so demoralizing. That's the word. It really is. The team being this bad is just so demoralizing, and especially again once you get past the trade deadline and everything. Performances, poor performances, don't even really, you're just numb to them. It's okay, yeah, he's done what he's done all year. He has a couple of strikeouts, but he's had a couple of walks. We're not going to get him for trade bait because we can't trade him. He's on a 1-year deal. Okay, if this just continues, he just won't be on the team next year, and this team is still going to lose over 100 this year, whether you like it or not. So that's really all it comes down to. So that would be Friday's game. Your ray of sunshine I am today. Then on Saturday, you lose 4-6. It was 4-4 going into the 7th. And then the White Sox would pull away there at the end of the game. You would also randomly, every 9th inning, they just think they want to go on a rally, and then they don't actually. It's actually very frustrating. I don't like it. Either take those at bats for 9 innings or get us out of here in 2 hours. I don't need the fake rally. Oh, but we're going to lose anyway every single 9th inning. I'm really over it. I sound so cynical and upset, but I don't know how you can't be. This is a absolute catastrophe of a season. And it wasn't supposed to be. 2019, who cared? You knew you were going to suck. Now you sucked really badly, but you knew it was going to be bad. This season wasn't supposed to be bad by everyone in and around the organization, including myself. Maybe that's why I'm upset. All right. Saturday, lost 4-6. Lucas Giolito started. He's had a really weird year. And I think it has to do with his manager. I think Tony La Russa is just obsessed with Lucas Giolito having to go 7+ innings every outing. Even if he's giving up 4, 5, 6 runs, they're like, no, you are Lucas Giolito. You will pitch 7 innings because Tony La Russa is just Tony La Russa. say what you will about the Tigers, and it's all totally justified and warranted. But this White Sox team is I mean, and again, I know we just got swept by them. That's not an accomplishment. Like this team is brutal for all the reasons we've been saying for weeks. This White Sox team is not that good, and it's a team that myself included, I think everybody expected to just kind of like waltz their way into a division crown again. However, here we are again. They have never won back-to-back division titles in the history of their franchise, and it looks like that's going to continue. So that there you go. So Chicago White Sox baseball right there. It's just like and I say this kind of as I have a somewhat of a friendly, maybe at times not so friendly rivalry with the White Sox fan base, but it really is just baffling because this team has a ton of talent and should be way better than it is. I don't think anyone will deny that this is a pretty big failure of a season for the Chicago White Sox too. So we'll see what they do for the last month and a half of the year. On Saturday, their offense woke up. Ours scored 4 runs, which is the first time again that we had scored more than 3 runs in a week. So I guess that was an accomplishment. But the offense still looked really, really poor, to be honest with you. There was a lot of strikeouts. There were not very many patient plate appearances. 4 runs is not something you should be like having a parade for. And so like it still wasn't a good day at the office. It just wasn't as bad as the last 10 games. I don't know. I'm just this team, man. Matt Manning did start though. We got to talk about that. There was some noteworthy stuff in that one. Then we'll talk about Sunday's game too. But first, I got to tell you all about our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn about the trends and action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, everybody. Welcome back to segment 3 here at a super positive episode of Locked On Tigers. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Matt Manning did start on Saturday. He would go 5 innings, 10 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. This was maybe the weirdest performance of the season. Like straight up. This is maybe the weirdest and most confusing. Not confusing because like I know what I saw, but it was weird because he showed flashes of really, really good pitching. Like his 4-seam topped out at 97. And the average fastball velocity was 95, which is solid. I mean, this is a guy, you have to remember when he was in the lower level of the minors, it was believed that he was going to be a mid 90s fastball, maybe even like 96 range fastball. And then he got to AAA, and that was still the belief. And then he got to the majors and he was topping out at like 91, 92 when everybody was like, what is going on? So to see him back from injury and in a full outing of 86 pitches, average a 95-mile-an-hour fastball is great to see, and top out at 97. That was great. He had a couple of that's almost 2 miles an hour more than his season average for his fastball velocity, by the way. And the velocity was up on all of his pitches. His slider was coming in really hot, but it was located horrendously, which is why he only threw it 8 times and it wasn't very effective. But it was so weird because there were flashes of really, really solid pitching, but then there was 10 hits and 4 runs in 5 innings. But then the average exit velocity in a game in which 20 balls were put in play and 10 of them were hits was sub 90 miles an hour. So he had like decent barrel missing stuff and wasn't, he still gave up quite a few barrels. He still got hit very hard at times. I think 3 or 4 balls at like 100-ish or higher. So like he definitely got hit hard at times for sure, but like only 1 walk. it was confusing to me. I guess that is the word I want to use. It was just confusing to me. There were some at bats where I thought the setup was really good. Like the changeup low and away, like that was a really effective pitch, especially to lefties. He was really taking advantage of that. It didn't really work the same when he tried to go arm side to righties. It didn't really have the same effect. But the lefties, he got a couple of swings and misses, got a couple of strikeouts on it. 5 strikeouts in 5 innings is not bad. You know, that's a 10K per nine, or 9K per nine rather. But it's just, then there were some at bats where he would just throw a sinker right down the middle and it would break into the barrel of the bat. And you were like, okay, well, that, like, maybe don't do that. It was a very roller coaster of an outing, is the word I want to use. It was a very up and down. You're like, oh my goodness, that this dude has it. And then for the next 2-3 batters, you're like, what happened? That was atrocious. Like, it was really a violent turn of ups and downs for Manning. But I think there is some good we can take from it. Like I said, that the strikeout numbers were not bad. He had 17 whiffs in 5 innings. That is phenomenal for Matt Manning, a dude that at times has really struggled to get swings and misses. 10 of those 17 came on the 4-seam fastball. Really, really solid stuff to take from it. It's just, as a whole, that final line is not going to jump off the page and really excite you. So, yeah, roller coaster of an outing. Really, really weird. Like I said, for my money, the weirdest outing by any pitcher this entire season. Very, very kind of confusing, but there is a lot of good we can take from it. There's just also some baggage there as well. It's about consistency now. We've seen the flashes. It's about consistency. So there's your, like, probably as positive as we're going to get on this episode, I guess. On Sunday, Tigers lose 3-5 to the White Sox. Lance Lynn on the bump. This one is just same story, different day, in the sense that we cannot hit a 4-seam fastball. We cannot hit any fastball. Fastballs will not be hit by the Detroit Tigers. We refuse. It's mind-boggling. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. We already kind of spent the entire first segment talking about it, but it is truly mind-boggling how they just can't hit 4-seam fastballs. This one, 47 of 88 pitches, that's still over 50% of Lance Lynn's pitches were 4-seam fastballs. He had 11 whiffs, a 38% CSW percentage, which is very good. It's just not the 50, because that's like absolutely absurd. 38 is still incredibly good for a CSW percentage. And 7 balls put in play of 47 thrown on the 4-seam. The average exit velocity on a pitch that was averaging almost 94 miles an hour, the average exit velo on the 4-seam fastball was 71.8 miles an hour. There you go. If you can't hit a 4-seam fastball, you're not going to score runs, and you're not going to hit homers, and this team does none of that. So pretty self-explanatory stuff in that regard. Riley Green had a knock in this one. That's always good. His OPS, 635. Still need starting to get into a territory where I need some little bit more patience, and the biggest thing is we just need that power stroke to come. A 343 slugging percentage is just not what we're used to seeing from him. But his approach at the plate is still comfortably the best on the team. Like, it's not even really remotely close. And the fact that you have to rely on, like, pretty much the only way this offense scores these days is if Javi is riding a hot streak, which this weekend he was, because he loves playing in Chicago. But it's really like, is Riley Green going to get on base? Is Hitting Harold going to hit a single? And then is Eric Haas going to be able to hit the ball hard and get a double or a homer to score Harold and or Riley Green, depending on how the lineup's constructed that day? That's pretty much it. That's like the extent of this offense. And when those 3 things don't happen, this team doesn't score runs. Javi was, in fact, on a heater, though, and Harold Castro did go yard. So that's good for Sunday, but it's really, you still lost. So whatever. Tyler Alexander started this game. I was very impressed. I don't know why I sighed like I was disappointed. This was a really solid outing from Tyler Alexander. I'm sorry. I'm just, this team just makes me sigh. 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 Ks. I know on a service level that's not the greatest stat line ever. And I'm not trying to make this out to be some, masterclass start. But Tyler Alexander is really good at missing barrels and not getting hit hard. He's not super good at missing bats. He had 9 whiffs in 5 innings. That's not bad, but 2 Ks. He's not he doesn't put on masterclass performances of missing bats and except for that one glorious day where he tied an AL record for consecutive strikeouts. Besides that day in 2020, for the most part, he's a pitch to contact guy. And I thought, especially in the first, I guess this is probably a better way to put it, in the first 4 innings, he was really, really effective at not getting hit very hard. And then the 5th inning came around, and yes, he did get hit pretty hard. And then Cody Clemens forgot how to catch a baseball, and he's a major league player. And like, I understand a lot of people have been clamoring to get Cody Clemens, some more at bats and everything. Like, he's got a 473 OPS and really isn't super effective defensively anywhere. Like, it's and like, maybe you still probably should give him some at bats, honestly. Like, maybe you still should, because see what you have in people. I want Carrie Carpenter to start the rest of the season. Got his first major league hit, by the way. Always a cool moment. No matter how bad the team is, no matter how bad the situation is within the clubhouse, whatever. First career hits are always special. Very cool that his family was there. So, and he got a walk too. Was it a called third strike? Probably should have been, but he got a walk nonetheless. Scored his first career run and got his first major league hit all on Saturday. So shout out to Carrie Carpenter. I do want to talk about him too, but it's just, as a whole, man, I guess from here on out, you just give people at bats that you think might have a chance to be on the team long term. Is that just like what you do? I don't know. If I had a solution, I'd be working for a team, and if anybody had a solution, this team wouldn't be one of the worst offenses we've ever seen. Carrie Carpenter is what I want to end the show on. I know a lot of people, like, the hype of him is already being deflated very, very quickly because he has not looked very good. I just want to say, I watched a lot of Carrie Carpenter at the minor league level. This is not his approach at the plate. And I don't know if it's just like you put on the old English D and then you just join the rest of the team in your hitting approach, or if most likely it's just the nerves and like that kind of monkey on your back of not having your first hit yet. I don't know the kid, and I don't know what's causing him to take the at-bats that he's taking, but I can promise you at the minor league level, he looked way calmer, took way more pitches, especially in AAA, and was not nearly this giddy and this like swing happy at pitches. And I hope that he got his first major league hit, and then he had the day off on Sunday. Maybe he can relax a little bit and find a groove and everything, and that's my hope. But it's just, it makes total sense given the state of the season that like somebody that's been crushing the ball gets called up and then just turns into everybody else on the team. It's like it's a curse. But I am holding out hope that maybe, again, I'm not expecting him to put up on 1,000 OPS like he was in the minors this year, but I am expecting a little bit more, obviously, than what he's been giving us, which is not a lot. So I'm hoping that he can get into a little bit of a groove here, maybe be a bright spot on a season, because I got a negative review the other day, a couple of weeks ago. Oh, I don't know, whenever it was. Because somebody said I was too negative, and I was just like, look, I'm sorry. I'm not sure. This season maybe has literally 0 bright spots. Like, the only positive storylines were like the bullpen, I guess. But even then, like, you probably should have traded some of them. And then Tarek Skubal, and now he's shut down for the year. And we've talked about, like, Feder has made this team decent at pitching, and like we've talked about that. Excuse me. It's just very difficult to watch this team every day and just come out of the other side after the game and be like a ray of positivity. It's very difficult to do that. And I have a lot of respect for the people that do. And yeah. So there's your weekend recap. We went over time, my fault, but we always do on Mondays at this point. So you should just kind of expect it. We got a lot of games to talk about. Yeah. Very, very frustrating team. Very, very frustrating weekend. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every day. And I'll make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and his unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories from around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. Okay, I think that's all I got. We got a doubleheader tomorrow. Today, as you're listening to this, if you're listening to it on Monday, got a doubleheader Monday against, I think, Cleveland again, back in town. So, or not back in town. You get what I'm trying to say. We're playing Cleveland again. Um, and yeah, uh, 30 games under 500, 1-9 in our last 10, 2 homers in the last 8 games, 7-game losing streak. It's the dog days, baby. It's the dog days. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. And I will catch y'all tomorrow. Hopefully recapping some wins. Hopefully. Go Tigers, baby.